I'm Ryan.
And I'm Tessa.
This is the Dark Dive Absurd Archives, where the strangest cases get the same serious attention as the darkest ones.
So imagine you are working the late shift at a Wendy's drive-thru in Loxahatchee, Florida. It is October 2015, and a customer pulls up to your window.
Right, just a completely standard transaction.
Exactly. He completes the transaction, and you hand out a large soda. But in return, a live 3-foot alligator comes flying through the open window, landing squarely on the floor of the restaurant's workspace.
Which obviously triggered an immediate multi-agency response. I mean, there were no injuries reported. But the weaponization of a wild animal naturally drew intense national scrutiny.
It really did. And the timeline leading up to the deployment of this reptile reveals a sequence of, well, highly calculated yet entirely inexplicable decisions.
Let's actually look at that timeline. At roughly 1:30 in the morning, 23-year-old Joshua Douglas James is captured on surveillance footage at a local 7-Eleven convenience store.
So he establishes a clear visual record of his whereabouts right before the incident.
Right. And shortly after leaving the 7-Eleven, he locates a live alligator on the side of the road, physically places it into the back of his truck, and drives directly to Wendy's.
But Ryan, here is the part of the timeline that demands closer inspection. When James enters the drive-thru lane, he does not immediately initiate the incident.
No, he doesn't. He places an order.
Right, he pays, and he waits until the employee physically hands him his large beverage. Only after securing his drink does he reach back, retrieve the alligator, and throw it into the food prep area.
Tessa, looking at the behavioral evidence, the fact that he prioritizes a mundane financial transaction over the immediate escalation of the situation is just baffling.
It is. I mean, he ensured his personal beverage order was fulfilled before deploying the animal. It demonstrates a clear level of premeditation, which sharply contrasts with the complete lack of an established motive.
And looking at the institutional response, the ensuing investigation treated this exactly as they would a traditional assault. The employees retreated, and the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission was dispatched.
Yeah, to safely capture the uninjured animal, they ended up releasing it into a nearby canal.
But investigators still had to track James down, which they ultimately did, using that 7-Eleven footage and a bank card record from just minutes prior.
Right, and he was arrested several months later. Which brings up a fundamental legal question regarding the severe list of charges.
Exactly. How do the authorities legally classify an alligator as a deadly weapon? I mean, how do you even write up a formal police report for a reptilian projectile?
Well, legally speaking, the court examines the intent of the suspect and the object's potential for severe bodily harm. The justice system basically had to adapt its traditional definitions to accommodate the bizarre nature of the incident.
Because by charging him with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, the court treats the animal no differently than if James had thrown a loaded gun or, say, a live grenade through that drive-through window.
Precisely. The alligator functions essentially as biological ballistics.
So the teeth, the claws, the inherent unpredictability of a wild predator, those attributes satisfy the legal threshold for a deadly weapon.
Right, regardless of the fact that the weapon is a living creature. That is the exact legal mechanism that allowed the state to formally charge him.
And he also faced charges for unlawful possession of an alligator and petty theft.
Which leads us to the court-ordered conditions following his arrest. The legal system attempted to mitigate any further incidents by issuing James a $6,000 bond.
And they ordered him to undergo a comprehensive mental health evaluation. Plus, he was handed a strict, legally binding ban from entering any Wendy's location.
Furthermore, he was strictly prohibited from possessing weapons or any animals, though the court records do note one highly specific exception.
Right, he was legally permitted to remain in the presence of his mother's dog.
Yes. And today, the case is closed. The alligator survived the deployment and was safely returned to its natural habitat.
And there is no further criminal activity documented in the public records regarding this individual. Yet, the core motive remains an absolute mystery.
It really does. It leaves you, as someone examining the facts, to consider the unresolved human element at the center of this case. You have to ask yourself, what psychological factors compel an individual to seamlessly blend the routine acquisition of a fast food soda with the premeditated deployment of an apex predator?
We want to hear from you. If you have insights, questions, or theories, reach out. Your voice helps keep these stories alive.
And if you want to hear more episodes of The Dark Dive, consider following and subscribing. It helps us continue bringing these stories to light.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Dark Dive.